Today's tartlet is devoted to a warm summer. Strong banana and strawberry flavor without any artificial add-on. You will be surprised how clear and intense the flavor of pure fruit is in the dessert. We'll also prepare and paint the mirror glaze on our own. We begin by preparing the strawberry mousse. Pour the cold water into gelatin and beat the cream until melted ice cream consistency. It should look this way. Put the half whipped cream in the fridge and warm the strawberry puree. Add the squeezed gelatin and mix until it dissolves. Add lime juice for a stronger flavor. Prepare the Italian meringue while the puree with the strawberry base is cooling down. Pour water into the sugar. It doesn't matter how much water you add. The syrup will reach the needed temperature with an amount, and the rest will evaporate. However, the syrup will be ready faster if you add water just to color the sugar. I started to beat whites at low speed just after I put a saucepan on the stove. When you see the foam, gradually add the sugar while mixing. The whites should have soft peaks by the time the syrup is ready. We need the syrup to be 121 degrees Celsius when we can pour it into the beaten whites. Pour the syrup into the beating whites with a thin stream. Beat a few minutes more until the meringue cools down and has soft but stable peaks. Add the meringue to the warm strawberry base at 30 to 35 degrees Celsius and mix with a silicone spatula. We're preparing more meringue than we needed because the small amount of whites would be very hard to beat. I made this puree by myself from frozen strawberry. My puree contains 10% sugar, so make sure your puree has the sugar too. If you want to make the puree by yourself too, strain the berries, add 10% of sugar and boil it for 2 to 3 minutes, constantly mixing. You can keep the leftovers in the freezer for a couple of months. Add the cold half-beaten cream and mix again. Choose the right size of the bowl. You can see I had to change it because the cream didn't fit. Fit the mold with the ready mousse and make the bottoms flat with a scraper. Put the fill mold in the freezer for a few hours. On to the next step, preparing the whipped ganache. Water the gelatin. Warm the strawberry puree with the first part of the cream and pour it out on the chocolate. Mix, add the squeezed gelatin and continue mixing until it dissolves. Then, add the second part of the cream and blend. Try not to introduce air bubbles into the emulsion. Pour the ganache into a wide bowl and cover it with a cling film in contact. It's time to let it rest in the fridge for 8 hours to stabilize. We continue with making the banana mousse that will fill the tartlets. As we usually do for any mousse, on one bowl we pour cold water into the gelatin and on another one whip the cream until melted ice cream consistency. Make the banana puree. I recommend using a very mellow fruit, almost dark. This is an excellent recipe to use those bananas that were left for too long. This way you will get the strongest flavor you can. Add the lime juice for richer flavor and also to prevent the banana from turning dark. Warm the puree a bit to then add the squeezed gelatin. Mix until the gelatin dissolves. Then prepare the Italian meringue. Here's a little tip. You can use the same meringue you've made for strawberry mousse if you prepare the banana mousse just after it. Add the meringue to the warm puree, not warmer than 35 degrees Celsius. Then add the half-beaten cream and mix. Fill the tartlets with the mousse. If you want the tartlets to stay crunchy, cover the inside part with a thin layer of melted white chocolate in advance. Put the filled tartlets in the fridge to stabilize for 2 to 3 hours. On to the next step, preparing the mirror glaze and painting it with water-soluble food colorants. We do it in advance too, because the mirror glaze needs 8 to 10 hours to stabilize. Water the gelatin and set it apart. Warm the glucose syrup and water in the saucepan at medium heat. Put the white chocolate and condensed milk in the measuring glass in the meantime. When the syrup reaches 103 degrees Celsius, pour it into the glass with the chocolate, add the squeezed gelatin and mix with a silicone spatula a bit. Then blend. Try not to introduce air bubbles. To prevent the bubbles, you can knock a bit with a blender to release the bubbles under the tip. Hold the blender at a 45 degrees angle at the same height while it's working. When the mirror glaze is even, we can divide it into a few parts and paint it with liquid water-soluble colorants. You can use the blender again or just mix it with a silicone spatula. It works if you use liquid colorants. Cover the glaze with a cling film in contact and put in the fridge for 8 to 10 hours. You can store it this way for up to a month in the fridge. Lastly, the assembling of the parts. After 8 hours of stabilizing, we can use the mirror glaze. Warm it until 2/3 of it melts and blend the rest. You can warm it in a microwave with 20-second impulses, or if you don't have a microwave like me, in a water sauna. The working temperature of the mirror glaze by this recipe is 34 to 37 degrees Celsius depending on the consistency. This is the right consistency. We have to cover the strawberry hemispheres with a mirror glaze when they're hardly frozen, so work fast. They are small and defrost quickly. Let the mirror glaze flow down, letting the excess just drip, and when it stops dripping, move the hemispheres on the tartlets. Help yourself with a second spatula or a knife. The smaller the hemispheres are, the smaller instruments you should use to avoid damages. Put the tartlets in the fridge while we beat the ganache. Beat for a few minutes. Stop immediately when you see stable peaks. I am using a round tip of 11 mm diameter for the decoration. To get the same result, hold the piping bag perpendicular to the table while decorating. Look at this beauty we got, and when we cut it, it will be even more attractive. Just look at it. Enjoy! If you found something useful here, press the happy button under this video and subscribe to my channel. A new video is coming to the channel every 2 days.